Hi, I am Sabrina Scott, the president of the Five Spheres of Fit, and I'm here with Noel Scott, the founder and creative director. The Five Spheres is a lifestyle strategy that constantly evolves with you. Of course, those five spheres are the physical, the mental, the financial, the social, and the educational. Okay, so today we have a guest and a friend, actually, Jordan Phillips. Jordan is a third generation realtor and broker associate at Phillips and Associates Realty. Over the last 10 years in the industry, his real estate company has been named to the top 50 professionals in San Antonio. He has mentored nearly 45 agents within the company, assisted more than 300 family and friends with their search for a home, and sold more than $70 million in volume. Jordan works alongside of his wife of 1 year, Caitlin, and he's committed to his community in San Antonio, Texas, where he regularly volunteers for a multitude of organizations. So welcome, Jordan. Thank you for being here with us today.
I am very happy to be here. Thank you for having me. It feels very I've been watching a lot of y'all stuff, so to be sitting here feels like a nice little honor. So thank you so much.
Well, it's an honor to have you. And I'll tell you, Noel and I were talking about having you on the podcast, and we both agreed that we continue to be inspired by people who are working to be the better version of themselves continuously. You being one of those people. And recently we did a presentation at an organization with that organization's leadership, and there was over 20 individuals there. And Noel asked them, how many of you use a lifestyle strategy, whether it's personally or professionally? And out of those over 20 people, 20 some, it was only two people raised their hands, and one was kind of like a halfway. So it was about 2.5 people. And we were taken aback by that. These are people in leadership positions. So you're in a leadership position, a third generational company, spearheading this with your family, and you have a lifestyle strategy, correct?
I try to, I really do. And that's something that over our time being friends and getting to know each other and working with different organizations that I feel I've drawn, that y'all have inspired me. Just hearing more about the five spheres of fit and how it works. And I want that structure in my life. And it's a very easy thing to imagine and to believe that you have without actually putting in the work to put the structure in place. And so that's something that I'm consistently working on, and I work on it with my team and I work on it, with my wife. But there's parts of my life that I want to start working on for me and me alone. And I think that what y'all have done and what y'all have created is a really good platform and opportunity for me to start pausing and not looking at everybody else and looking at myself to see what can I do to reach these goals that I want. What even are my goals? Let's define those, and let's begin to create them. And so it's something that I have strategies, I have things that I do, but always wanting to improve and always wanting to be better. I know that there's room for growth there. So I'm really trying. I'm really looking forward to putting this structure into place and just saying, I'm taking a pause from everybody. This is what I'm doing right now, and figuring out what those exact things are, because it's very easy in my industry and most people's industries to just keep moving. And you just don't even really have time to pause and say, where are we going? Where am I walking to? I'm walking, but I'm running, but where am I going? And I think that that's something that I really am hoping to start getting down packed and take that time for myself.
Jordan, I really appreciate that response. It's wonderful, and I know you're much younger than I am, that you have already at this point found that a strategy is necessary. It's important to be organized, but more importantly than just simply being organized, having a strategy in which to do that, not just saying, oh, I'm going to be organized. I really like that you pointed out that what the five spheres essentially is, which is it's more of a subjective approach. It's all about you. And I think you'll probably agree, and you can tell our audience if you agree, that your successes really have come from the fact that you are turning and looking at yourself and saying, how can I be better? How can I do more? How can I improve myself? And I think that's wonderful. Could you detail a little bit, because you mentioned that, yes, you sort of have strategies in place, before you learned about five spheres, before we talked to you about it, or you had read about it, what were you doing specifically? Like you said, like on a daily basis, you would do some different things. Can you maybe give us an example of maybe something that you were doing to strategize or to organize your life?
I think that a lot of the way that I've built myself thus far has come from how I've been raised and what I've seen, which is good and bad, right? I am a part of this industry. I have my role because of my parents and my grandparents and what they've done, what they've established in our company. Now, they didn't say, hey, you're going to come work for us and here you go, get started. Here's everything for you. They made sure that I knew how to build it from the ground up, but I've watched their techniques and I've watched the things that they've done. And there's good and bad in it. I think that a lot of it is just going with overall just being a sociable person. My mom is keen. She is very adamant about her calendar. Everything goes on her calendar. It doesn't matter if it's funsies, if it's for work, if it's for a relationship, it doesn't matter. It goes on the calendar. So every day that is there, which I love having that structure. I being younger, I have this feeling as well that a lot of the people around me, some of them are kind of like, we're on a big floating rock. What does it matter anyway? Let's just live our lives. And others that are very much so goal oriented, driven. I can work hard now, play hard later type of mentality. And I really like to try to have a balance of both. And so my biggest thing is taking the things that rattle around in my noggin and try and get them down. So every night, if there's something that I'm trying to relax and hang out with my wife, and I feel very fortunate that right now I'm building my career and I'm building my business at a time where I don't have, a lot of the other concerns a lot of people do. I can't wait to have kids, don't have any right now. And I think that there is a freedom in that aspect that allows me to say, okay, I'm going to stop for the day. I'm going to try and turn this off, but I want to take everything that I might carry on from this point forward that might affect my relationships with other people and put it down on paper. I love notes. I think it's old school, but like pieces of paper everywhere. And I try and keep them compiled, and I like to scratch things off. And it just allows it to kind of pull from here and put it down. And then first thing in the morning, I like to have my me time, like getting up, going for a walk, going to the gym. And during that time, if things kind of begin to pop up in here, they go down on the list. And then when I'm ready to start my day, I kind of have all of these first things that are on my brain that I've deemed important, or at least they're so important that I'm trying my best not to forget them. And I try and put those down and handle those first. And once I handle those first, then I can get into the structure of everything else about my day. But I can say with that as well, that I know that there's more elements that I need to encapsulate within that and give time towards. And I think that that's something that I've felt like I've been lacking for me to be able to reach this next goal. I think that there's an appreciation and a blessings that I appreciate, that I'm happy about, that I'm proud of, that I've reached this point, but I have so much more that I want to do and that I want to get to. And so knowing that it's like, all right, Jordan, this is awesome. You've done this, but now it's time for you to start putting other items in place and look at these other spheres in your life that you're not hitting, or maybe I'm hitting them, but not consciously.
Yeah. Interestingly, Jordan, it sounds like, and if this is what Sabrina, if this is what you just heard, Jordan, it sounds like you're already tapping into the five spheres, right? So we've got physical, we've got mental, we've got financial, we've got social and educational. You just remarked about, having time for the social sphere, family, friends, your financial sphere, of course, all the work that you're doing, the people that you're going to intermingle with during the course of that time. But then also, which I thought was great, is taking the time out, taking that walk, going out, doing something physical, whether it's a workout or like a walk. So that's mental sphere as well as physical sphere, because you're giving yourself an opportunity to decompress perhaps, but then also to work on your body, like to physically work on your body and to work on your mind. I think that you just tapped right into it. So you're well on your way to taking care of all your five spheres, I think.
I have two things I want to say. Number one, kudos to you, because you are, you're recognizing that you need to pause and take care of yourself. And especially if a goal that you and your wife have are to have children, you're doing that now, because parents listening to this are going to say, yeah, as soon as that kid comes, like, you go through phases where you forget about yourself,
Yeah.
just like focusing and you're like, oh, I can't take care of someone else if I don't take care of myself. So kudos to you on that. And second of all, can I see those notes? How you have, like, they just ripped papers? Yeah. So
Okay, these
no, no,
are
no.
ripped
I'm not
paper.
judging. In fact, you gave me a light bulb moment because my mom listens to all our episodes, and my mom has stacks of paper everywhere. And Noel and I, my brother, we all like tease her, like, Mom, and she's like, I know what's in them. I need them. And I just had a real light bulb moment. So, Mom, I'm sorry. You keep
Yeah.
taking your notes. So, yes.
I have
Never
a cap.
works.
Okay, I have a cap. No more than 3 pieces of paper before we have to decompress it and throw them away.
Okay, so, tell us, maybe a challenge you've had in the past, in the recent past, present, and we want to talk about how you've overcome that challenge, what steps you've taken.
You know, I am somebody that I am very aware of where I'm at in life. I'm very aware of my blessings, and I love to count them. And so when things aren't always going my way, I like to say, this is nothing. This is a speed bump in life. I have an amazing support system. I have built myself a nice amount of protection in whatever way that is for me, as far as owning my home. We also own a condo, and we have a savings account, and my parents live down the street. So I'm like, if anything ever were to get crazy, I'm feeling safe. And so that allows me not to fret too much. Complications arise. I do probably about 60 to 90 transactions a year, depending on how the market is. They're not all going to be butter. They're going to have hiccups with them. And I just like to know that that's going to be okay. But the beginning of this year was a really rough kind of time for me and my wife, because we hadn't even been married 1 year. We got married in a very beautiful wedding that I'll never take back. I would redo it again immediately if I could. Caitlin does not agree, but that is my thought. And we renovated our house within the same year. And then towards the end of last year, the beginning of this year, there was a lot of fear of the market. And so the business had kind of begun to slow down. And there's a bit of this anxiety that arises that's just like, am I doing everything that I can be doing? Are things going to be okay? You can't help but to have this thought, even though 10 plus years, 10 and a half years of doing a real estate, is this the path for me? Should I do anything differently? You just begin to question a lot of stuff. And I realized that in that time frame, that not that I was having a crisis or freaking out, but it was just kind of like, who wants those financial stressors in the first year of your marriage? And I know people say the first year is the hardest. And there's plenty of other things that are going to rise. They're going to get harder all over again. But what do I need right now to be present in my marriage, happy in my marriage, and confident enough to say, I'm doing what I can be doing, and my day is done. I did what I could do today. Tomorrow's a new day, and let me start again. And that was just kind of laying everything out. I went from piece of paper to a whiteboard, and I wanted to write everything out as far as what we're doing. What does that look like? It's me, my wife, and our assistant. What are all of our roles? How do those look like for us? Are we all confident in these? What more can we be doing? And let's meet once a week. Let's analyze that once a week. And that's also something for me to go into that with a good headspace. Also made me realize I need time for myself. I'm an only child. My wife only has one husband, so I am giving myself to them and being very, very present in that time period. I love my friends. I love to give myself to them. But at what point am I giving this all out to everybody else, and I'm not really taking time for myself? And I find that that's something that I do a lot. I'm a people pleaser, and I love my people. So circles all the way around. But taking the time for myself to be like, Jordan, you're going to start giving yourself time to be active. You're going to start giving your time stuff to be lazy, to read, to hang out with your dog. And just, I find that I'm not someone that typically likes to be in silence. I typically have music going. I'm talking to people. Something's going on. And so having those times where I kind of get to space out a little bit allows me to dream and kind of more ideas and just potential avenues that I can take, or things that I can do pop into my head when I'm actively taking time for myself, which is something that is I didn't expect. And I leave those times, the hour, half an hour, whatever it's, and I come back with things that I think that need to be discussed, that we could do, that we could change, that we could implicate. And I found that just realizing what I'm doing, breaking it down, and then taking time up for myself to not necessarily just sit and reflect, but just sit with time with me, and naturally my brain is going to go there. That really helped me at the beginning of this
Well,
year,
it's
and was something
about, depending on the day, because you're busy, right? I mean, you wake up, you have work, you have your wife, so your assistant. So about 30 minutes to an hour is sufficient for you, whether it's being lazy, binging on Netflix, or doing a good workout. Correct?
just, yeah. And I think one of the biggest things for me is that bit of a workout, or the bit of doing something with my dog, because he's a workout in himself, that just it gives me a win for my day. I've sweat. I put in work. I feel good about myself. And there's people in my life that I'm like, just do 30 minutes a day of working out, and they just can't. They just
And
can't.
orphans that you release I mean, it
Yep.
changes your day dramatically.
It really does. It
Yeah.
really
And
does.
and let me say too, Jordan, and this is really important. Your ability, and I'm specifically to you, your ability to celebrate your achievements has also got to help you obviously feel good about yourself, and to realize that your personal accountability is probably why you are having those successes. And at the same time, you're still continuing to manage your life in such a way that you're still recognizing there's still more work to be done, but you are stopping and celebrating those small achievements, whether it's a workout in a day, whether it's a closing, in your business or your real estate business, or if it's, going out with friends who you hadn't seen in a while, or maybe picking up a new book. All of these things that I'm hearing from you, and because I know you a little bit, I've always felt like, man, this guy is on a path to success, because at his worst, he already has a strategy in place, and he's already taking the time to pat himself on the back and say, hey, you know what? I'm doing a good job no matter what's going on. If there's a stressor, if there's a huge challenge in front of you, you're still taking that time to really make sure that you're good inside. I think that's a really good thing that you do, certainly mentally, and I'm sure that helps sort of pick you up physically too. So
And
that's
thank you
great.
for saying that. Because I think it's very easy to forget that I do those things. It's I
Yeah.
have There's times where you kind of have this bit of imposter syndrome. I mean, this year, this year I was ranked top 20 African American realtors in Texas, which is a really big deal. I mean, that's incredible.
Congrats.
And something in me,
Wonderful.
when that was released, I wasn't feeling confident in my business, and it felt like I hadn't earned that. And it made me like hesitant to celebrate it. And it made me, so there are days where I have a closing, and that's fantastic. I sit there and I am congratulate these people on their new home, or selling their home, or whatever that they've done. And I leave there feeling like I have to get back to work. And there's times where I forget to celebrate those wins as well, and it's just really easy to blast through them. And I think working on taking the time to just appreciate that, it is a big thing,
Yes.
because
Yeah,
I think we need
absolutely.
that little kudos for ourselves.
Yeah.
And sometimes the most rewarding kudos to get is from yourself, not from others.
Yeah. We're our toughest critic, are we not? I mean, we know ourselves the best. You brought up an important topic that I think Sabrina and I will probably cover on a future episode of the Five Spheres, but the imposter syndrome. And so many people are dealing with this, where for our viewers who are not familiar with it, let me just in a nutshell explain. The imposter syndrome is that experience that you have where, because of your successes that you may be experiencing, you don't feel like it's really real, like you didn't deserve it, or it's actually not as legitimate because it's you, and you don't feel like you're that person, you're the person to be rewarded. It's a little more long-winded than that, but suffice to say, that's basically what it is. And so, Jordan, hearing you say that, it's not abnormal that someone like yourself would feel that. And the fact that, again, I can go back and say, you've got this strategy in place and you're doing this personal accountability stuff on a daily basis, that you can go back and you can celebrate and say, you know what, I am good at this stuff. I'm legitimately good. People objectively are telling me that I've done a good job. So kudos to you, and that's awesome for your success and your future. And I hope it continues in that path. So
Thank you.
No,
you're welcome.
I want to go back to that challenge that you brought up in the financial sphere and really just break it down into the sphere so that the people listening can see exactly how this strategy works. You know, Jordan, you said you visualize the 5 spheres, and that's what I do. Sometimes I'm laying in bed and I'm thinking, it's that quiet time. So I think, and they're like little bubbles popping up. That's how I
Right.
visualize it. It's like, oh, the
They're
physical,
very loud
feeling
bubbles.
physically. Yeah. It's like, oh. Then the mental sphere pops up and I'm like, oh, how am I feeling mentally? It's like the way I
Mhm.
check in with myself, like you said
Yeah.
at the beginning of this episode. So you're going through this, feeling this anxiety earlier in the year, right? And you're thinking about your financial sphere. The anxiety in itself right there, that's the mental sphere. um and you realize that this could potentially be in your your financial sphere, which is out of your control. The market has slowed down. You've done nothing to cause that. Interest rates have gone up. Again, you've done nothing to cause that. So what are you going to do? And then that could potentially put stress on your marriage, your social sphere. So
Yep.
those are the two, you know, cha- I put challenges in quotes because it's subjective, right? But those are the two challenges you potentially had earlier in the year. Um, and then you're looking at your physical sphere and you say, no, you know what? I need to get out there and work out because it helps me focus on the financial and the social spheres right now. And then your educational sphere came into play because you were like, okay, I'm going to start taking notes. I'm going to learn what I can do, and I'm going to educate others, and we're going to brainstorm and we're going to come up with a plan. And maybe not everything was in here, but you were actually researching things you could do to alleviate any future stressors in those two spheres. Noel,
Yes,
what's
that
that?
holistically, yeah. I mean, Sabrina, you nailed it. It's holistically what Jordan is doing is he is organizing, evaluating, and problem solving in the most ideal way. And Jordan, you're essentially using 5 spheres without really knowing it. And if you had just tapped in, like, so we talk about this financial challenge that you have, if you had just tapped into financial, and then as Sabrina mentioned, how it sort of bleeds into the mental sphere because all of the anxiety that comes up, you probably would not have considered without knowing about the 5 spheres, maybe the other spheres, but they are happening. The beauty of this 5 spheres concept is that it gets you thinking in the mindset of, if I have an issue, how is it interacting with my other spheres? What's that interplay, and how's that going to affect me? What you've done, Jordan, is you've tapped into your physical sphere to help you manage all of this, because what you've figured out is it makes you feel better. And I have said from the get-go, from the start of 5 spheres, is if you feel well physically, you are more likely to attack all of the other issues in any of the other 4 spheres. So for financially, you say, hey, the markets are what they are. You, as Sabrina pointed out, you cannot change those things. Those are things beyond your control. But you went and you took the things that were in your control, and you said, hey, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. I'm going to work out. I'm going to go for that walk. I'm going to decompress. I'm going to spend time with my wife. I'm going to make sure my social sphere is strong. And what that tells me is the successes that you'll experience in those spheres will have a direct and complementary effect on that financial sphere. And I have no doubt that it'll give you the maybe that light bulb moment where you're like, you know what, I can't control these things, but here's what I can do to perhaps drum up more business, market myself a little bit more in what we might consider a downtime. So I just feel so good knowing that you're doing all of these things, and they are absolutely 100% 5 spheres. So
So did you
all I can really say is keep it up, man. Is
Yeah.
it's
Did you
awesome.
come up
It's awesome.
with good ideas between the beginning of the year? I just realized we're October. So did everything you
Yeah,
were doing help?
yes, there has been a lot of, and a big part of it with challenges that arise or things that come up is that I am not the sole expert on anything. I mean, 100%, right? I put in the time, I've put in work, I have experience, but I'm not the expert. And so when I'm having struggles and difficulties with either it's a small problem in regard to a transaction, or it's the bigger picture of like this quarter sucks. We're not doing great. I mean, we've sat here and made promises to go on trips with people. Are those smart? Is that a smart financial thing for us to do, to go on these trips? But yeah, life is so short. We really should go and live with our friends and have a good time. So what can I do right now? And so we have built an amazing village of industry experts and professionals that I can lean into, as well as I have access to the internet. And there's agents and different economists everywhere and lenders everywhere that I can listen to and reflect on, and just to see what I can do with that. You had mentioned 3 words that resonated with me, because I actually have them in some form tattooed on my body. And it's how I choose to live my life: explore, understand, then challenge. Everything that I like to do is if I get into a room and I'm not the one speaking, that's because I'm there to learn. And I really want to listen, and I want to absorb, and I want to understand it. I want to make sure that it makes sense to me, and it's something that I can take and challenge it and make my own and make better and use it for me. And so, yes, between the beginning of the year to now, we've implicated some new things that I just think have benefited us, that I'm happier with. And at the end of the day, it just takes effort. And someone has to be the leader. And also, hardest thing about being a leader is delegating and working to delegate. And I have been really working on that one very hard this year as well, because I can't do it all. So
Yeah.
Jordan, let me ask, because you have done this and you've come up with some different strategies to move forward in a tough time. Is this also allowing you guys as a company, and then you individually, to now goal plan moving forward? Like, you've got some goals that you can now look at. Have you changed goals? Like, how does that work for you?
yeah, yes, we have. My mom is very big on goals. And when I first began to work for her and work on her team, I would let her give me goals. They were her goals for me. And my goals for myself were always to be, hey, I want to pay my bills, I want to be happy, I want to be in love, and I want to see the world. If I can do those 4 things, I'm feeling great, right? Like, I didn't need to be sitting there having this goal staring at me for me to do my job well. And it was working out great. But now, reflecting and kind of seeing that there's more that I want to do. Yes, tangibly writing down goals, that it has helped me. And I find that they're not as big as I would like them to be. I would like for them to be something that is more aware for other people, but I also like for people to have slack, because not everything works out well, and you have to be forgiving, and I'm not very forgiving on myself. And so maybe that's just my way of kind of having a protection there. Because we are our worst critics, and I certainly am. And yet at the exact same time, I'm proud of everything that we're doing. So we have put some goals down. We've been working on them. I think that they are more tangible types of goals. Like, it's more of an action goal than I have to reach this thing. It's like, this is the goal of what we're going to do. Now we're all going to work towards doing it. And I find that giving myself action goals tends to be a little bit better for me than almost as like compensation goals or reward goals, because I know I can do something about it, and that makes me sleep well at night, that I've done what I've done.
It's almost like tasks along the way. So, like, Jordan, you may know this, in our app, the 5 Spheres app, one of the great things that I think people should be doing, just as you said, is goal planning. Because how will we know where we're trying to go if we don't have goals in place? And that could be goals individually in each of the 5 spheres, but certainly just picking one and saying, hey, this is a goal that I'm working towards, and I'll organize my spheres around it to make that goal happen. Perhaps it's a financial goal, perhaps it's a social goal or a physical goal. Point being is, we want to make sure that we're goal planning something that's achievable, and then we're creating like doable tasks, things that we can actually do on a regular basis to complete and hopefully reach that goal. The other thing too, Jordan, I want to ask, Do you journal? Do you keep like a personal journal, or do you do anything of that nature? Because that's been really big now for people, especially in this world where we're all dealing with so much anxiety and stress, probably more so than I can ever remember. But I think I was just curious, do you do that?
I have picked up and put down journaling a lot. It's something that I like to do, and there's a lot on my brain. That's just to get something down. Or recently, I've also been looking at it like I should journal when I'm happy as well. Not only journal when I'm having a hard time and I want to get those thoughts out, but when I'm having a good time, just so I can say, what did I do to make me feel this way? It is not consistent. It is not every day, but every few days I try and pick that up and just put something down in regards to how I'm feeling, what I've been doing, and what I want to do. And that's been nice for me. There's times where I've picked it up and there's just not much that I want to throw in there, but having it around, I carry it around. It's in my bag. I move it from home. I move it to my nightstand. I just have it with me so that I can put that down when I want to. And it's handwriting again.
I
A
like that.
great way to mentally decompress. That's
Yeah.
what I use my journaling for, and I do use this 5 Spheres app for journaling. But I also think it's really healthy to do it, to actually physically write it down.
And I've
As you
and
keep
I've had
notes.
thoughts as well that's like,
Yeah.
as I proceed and as I progress, if there is that bit of imposter syndrome or things that I'm anxious about, being able to reflect and go, well, how was I feeling a few months ago?
Right.
And revisit those. That's what I'm looking
Smart.
forward to. Yeah, and just try to see if where I'm saying now, I was having a hard time at the beginning of the year. I think it'd be good if I could look back on the journals that I had at the beginning of the
Yeah.
year and just say, how was I feeling? You
Yep.
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Revisit, go back and see, what was going on at that time, and maybe, what your achievements are, or things that you can continue to work on.
Yeah. So unfortunately, we're running out of time. I wanted to thank you for being with us today. I feel like you gave us an example that so many people, anxiety or stress gets the best of us, and so many people in your similar position, would not have done the things that you are doing, and maybe would have dealt with physical ailments from that, and even more financial challenges because they aren't they aren't they're not organizing, they're not solving. So you are an example, and we're so happy to share what you are doing in your life. And thank you for sharing that with us so we could share that with others.
Yeah, thank you for having me. And I think that this has been very good for me and very therapeutic for me. I don't know if you need to send me an invoice or what, but being able to talk to being able to talk to y'all about things that, I mean, I had written down a sentence, but being able to kind of reflect on that and go over all of that, it's been good for me. And it's leaving me here, leaving and being like, I need to go plant some more goals. I need to write some more things down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Don't
feel
overwhelm
charged up.
yourself, though.
Yeah,
Don't overwhelm yourself.
don't overwhelm yourself. But in all honesty, Jordan, thank you so much for being with us. You have, I hope for our audience members who will watch this, you'll sort of open their eyes to what someone recently married, has his own business, looking to grow in lots of different areas of his life, is using a 5 Spheres strategy, a growth mindset, if you will, to constantly be moving forward, to maintain progress in all 5 spheres, and that you're organizing, evaluating, and problem solving by taking into account all of these spheres of life, the 5 spheres. And I think that's wonderful. So continue doing what you're doing, and I look forward to seeing your successes in the future.
Thank you so much, and thank you for creating something that can really center us all. So I think it's fantastic, and I've had a great day being here. So I will see you all very soon.
Thank you, Jordan.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.